Well, good evening, everyone. This is Michael Dotterer, and I'm on the dot. As you can see right there, we're on the dot, and I have a great show for you today. I don't see anyone right now that's listening, but we are broadcasting live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and hopefully more mediums. Would love to broadcast live someday on Telegram. If you don't know what Telegram is, it's quite a global social media platform. So hopefully StreamYard will have a connection maybe someday to Telegram. But in any event, as you can see, this is my good friend Zennie Abraham, and he has an organization of Zennie Media 62, or it's Zennie62, and he's been doing social media longer than probably anyone that's listening right now. He's one of the leaders. He's got, as you can see here, 48,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. And I've known Zennie for, it seems like 3 decades, probably 30 years. I met Zennie when I lived in Oakland, California. And Zennie is a graduate of the University of California, Berkeley. And we immediately became friends because he's interested in not only sports, but he's very knowledgeable about public policy and what's going on in the community and politics. So we have wonderful discussions every time we talk about what's going on with Cal football or Stanford football, or what's happening with the Oakland Athletics or the San Francisco Golden State Warriors. We just have a lot of great conversations. And actually, I'm going to predict that we may have a show in the future where it's going to be the Z&D show. And I think it might be a lot like what 60 Minutes used to have, where they would have discussions. And what we want to do is have civil discussions, because there's certain areas that Zennie believes strongly, and there's certain things that I believe in, that and we can have a civil debate. And that's something that is very critical in today's day and age. I wish our leaders in Washington, here in the United States, could have civil discourse. That's something that we all need to do. And there's a great quotation, be the change that you see in the world. So hopefully with Zennie tonight, you're going to hear us talk about some controversial subjects. And the first subject that we're going to talk about is the Oakland Athletics. And the Oakland Athletics are dear to my heart, because I moved to the East Bay in 1967. And I remember cheering for the Oakland Athletics. I remember cheering for the Oakland Seals. This was the team that preceded the Sharks, the San Jose Sharks. So Oakland had not only a Major League Baseball team, they had a major NHL team. They had the Warriors. And I remember Rick Barry, my father. I'll never forget when my dad playing softball with Rick Barry, and Rick Barry hit a softball further than any ball he'd ever seen hit. And my dad played against Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle and some great players. And he said, Michael, I've never seen a ball go as far as it went with Rick Barry hitting it. So, the great Rick Barry, and Oakland had the Oakland Raiders. And I remember going to my first Oakland Raider game, I think in the late 60s, early 70s. And then so we had basketball, baseball, ice hockey, and football, NFL football, all 4 sports right there in Oakland. Well, as we know, the San Francisco Warriors, or the Golden State Warriors, they departed and went to San Francisco. They left and went over to San Francisco. They built a new arena. The Seals were disbanded in the early 70s. So they're gone, and they did, eventually San Jose has the San Jose Sharks, which is a great organization. And so those are two franchises, major sports franchises that left. And then the Oakland Raiders, who left to Los Angeles, came back to Oakland. And I know Mr. Davis tried to do everything he could to keep the Raiders. I think he wanted to stay in Oakland because his home's there. But for whatever reason, Mr. Davis transitioned. He's no longer with us. And his son, Mark, took over. And Mark and the organization left to go to Vegas, Las Vegas. And so the only team that's left is the Oakland Athletics. And that's what we're going to talk tonight about with Zennie Abraham. And I'm going to call Zennie because he just said that he was getting on. And we're going to see. And we're also going to talk about, I'd like to talk about People's Park in Berkeley. We're going to get his take on People's Park because that's something that I heard about this weekend when I was in Canton, Ohio, that they are talking about building a student dormitory on People's Park. And I was talking with a woman in Canton who went to the University of California, Berkeley, and she was beside herself. She said, I can't believe that they're actually want to raise People's Park in Berkeley. And I'll never forget when I was a young kid, my mother, God bless her soul, she had me, and this is 1968, had me going out and marching because she was not in favor of the war in Vietnam, as was Muhammad Ali and so many people. I mean, that war that spread into Laos and Cambodia. I mean, it was a terrible, terrible war. And something that hopefully we'll learn from that will never be repeated. But I remember going out and marching, and I remember People's Park. I mean, People's Park was the epicenter of peaceful demonstration. And then I remember as a young kid, Kent State, that there were students that the National Guard fired and people were killed at Kent State. And I visited Kent State. And so any event, we've got a great show for you. And Zennie's coming on right now. And he's an expert at this. I'm fairly new. I only have, 150 subscribers. Zennie has 48,500 subscribers. So here he is, my good friend, Zennie Abraham. Zennie, welcome, brother. You're on the dot.
Go Bears! Beat Stanford. How are you? I start off my talks with A's president Dave Cavall that way too.
Well, Zennie, I'm excited to have you on the dot, Zennie. We've been talking about this for the past year. And what prompted me was I was reading the news, the online news, and your name came up, and it said you were the first person that broke the story about your friend Taj, and that he is a senior vice president or whatever his title is with the Oakland Athletics. He was relieved of his duty, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I got to call Zennie." And then obviously that led to Zennie. Can you come on the dot? Tell us, Zennie, what's going on with the Oakland Athletics?
I'm telling you right now, I'm telling all my viewers, folks, this is my buddy Michael Daughter. Okay. I want you to go, and I want you to go and subscribe to his show On the Dot. Okay. You gotta go and check him out. That's us. Okay. And give him your time and your clicks and everything else. We gotta get a subscriber count up to 1,000,000. Michael, hey, thanks for having me on, my friend. We go way back, long time, way back. But Tosh Tahombe was unfortunately, I hope he becomes again. He was vice president, not even senior executive of external affairs for the Athletics. But candidly, he was the black face for the Athletics. He was the person that served as the A's connector to the African-American community, particularly those who were poor, who didn't understand why the A's would be building a new stadium, not in East Oakland, not at the Coliseum, why they would give to some the look that they were leaving a predominantly Black and people of color region of Oakland for a part of the seaport, and in the process threaten to some the continued development and operation of the seaport there. I don't agree with that, but I'm laying out to you what the concern is and the argument. And Taj was the A's best weapon against that. Okay, he'd been with the Athletics since 2016, so there are a number of people still shocked and angry that this happened, and it was, in my opinion, but really not even in my opinion, it was factually just a major error by the Athletics to fire him. And the way I found out about it was out of the blue. I got an out of the blue reach from a friend, and I immediately got on it because they wanted me to get on it. And this was, look, as I've said before, and I'll say again, this story really shines a light on how unfortunately racially divided the media is. You have an inordinate focus on white-owned media, and it's not like the time of blogging when I, for example, was on SF Gate and I had as a City Brights blogger, but I also had Zennie62. If that were the case today, I would have put my video blog on the Chronicle website, and they would have gained the benefit of my connections, and I would have gained the benefit of being on their website. But things are different today. I, for reasons actually related to how they treated me then, started my own Zennie62 Media brand, which is now a C Corp I own 67% of, and I would love to have Michael in as a partner. And we have 100 websites, and the Chronicle's readership has declined to a point where when their two reporters wrote about this and were good enough to report that I broke the story, the link to the video that I made, the original vlog, had very little impact on it. Oh, of course it was positive, but frankly speaking, it's not like years past when I could talk about, say, the America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, and Susan, I forgot the young lady's last name, that just hit it out of the park with her incredible voice. I put a video blog of my comment on her, which is 3 minutes long, and it was seen 2 million times in 1 month because of its position on the Chronicle and the way that I wrote it. But the Chronicle was more popular then, mainstream media was more popular then. Now these events happen and they're known to a local group, but not as many people. It's unfortunate, but also it points to the kind of opportunity there is for sites like mine or Michael Daughters, or for us to team up and do our own thing. But coming back to the central story regarding Taj, he was said to have gone to two events. One, the All-Star game, where he actually had a racial diversity event while he was at the All-Star game that he produced. And then in Washington, D.C., another program that was based on FC Baynard's executives and their call for the end of racism, and an event that was attended by a star-studded group of Black sports executives and was very widely regarded. The problem, it appears from what my sources told me, and the Athletics didn't contact me, they contacted the Chronicle, okay, or SF Gate, but they didn't do me the respect of saying, hey, Zennie, can we tell you the story? I mean, we realize it's a national story. We can't comment on the specifics, but let us tell you what it wasn't. I reached out to them, okay? So I'm not buying what they told SF Gate. And the reason I'm not is because they didn't show the respect to me of contacting me to give their side of the story, even though I reached out to them. And I've had Dave on, President Caval of the A's, many, many times. Okay, he went Stafford on me in a sense, in a different way. Dave is also a Stafford grad as well, Michael. So there you go. Hey, Michael, I don't know if I can hear you on your end.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I
Really?
was. Yeah, we were talking about David. I remember talking with David. It might have been like 20 years ago. He put together a professional. He was part of the Golden State Professional Baseball League. Was it called the Golden State League?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know more than I do there. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I only heard of him regarding the earthquakes. He was the rising star when he built their facility down in San Jose, and that's when I first became aware of him. I didn't meet him until, well, when he had the press conference. I was there at the Coliseum. My buddy Chris Dobbins, who was involved with Save Oakland Sports, was there. I interviewed Chris about him, and then I got to know Dave really well because he was doing this really intelligent move of having a kind of an outreach where you'd come to his office and talk, or you could have a call with him. I did the call route, and that's where I told him that he needed to use tax increment financing to build affordable housing. Otherwise, he wasn't going to get a Howard terminal approved. And so he took the information that I gave him and went and did just that. He's partnered with Nancy Skinner to create kind of a designer version of for the use of tax increment financing in Jack London Square and Howard Terminal, which I thought was really brilliant. That was really brilliant. But then, of course, the city screwed things up by not following up as they should by saying, hey, County of Alameda, we're going to need your tax increment revenue that was produced from that 55 acres that we're going to allow the Athletics to build. And so they quite literally wasted, the city did, 2 years doing nothing. Well, they would argue that they were doing community meetings, and they were, but you don't do community meetings and then not take the plans formed with the community and fold them into a legally called for infrastructure financing plan and build a public financing authority, both called for by law, and then put some of the members of the community on it. So it was wasted time. I mean, they wasted about 1.5 years of the community's time by doing nothing to install what they came up with as part of the plan. They didn't monetize any of it. Nobody knows what the projects that are listed in this very grand plan are to cost. And it's not that they're not, estimable. They are. But the city didn't do it. They were too busy just meeting. They weren't really thinking about or understanding. They didn't follow the law, and they didn't understand how to put it together to take the next step. And so they hired a consultant. They have hired consultants that don't know blank from blank. Whereas I've done tax increment financing for 36 years and worked on the Coliseum redevelopment area as its data guy. That was way back. My first job out of grad school was with the City of Oakland as an intern. I learned how to do that while I was an intern. Then I became a redevelopment consultant. And I was a consultant not just for the City of Oakland, but also for the San Francisco Redevelopment Agency and also for the Emeryville Redevelopment Agency, where my longtime Cal buddy, Kofi Barner, was the director at the time. So, and then I basically made a pivot into starting Oakland's first blog and making taking a number of actions that led to what today is Zennie62 Media. But the bottom line is Oakland did not and has not handled this project properly at all.
Yeah, well, it is sad, Zennie. It's very sad. I remember, gosh, it was 15 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, when the Raiders were talking about leaving, and even before the Warriors left, there was a woman that I had met who worked with Mayor Schaaf and worked directly with her, and my strength is I love connecting people. I mean, I just love putting people together. And, I've got many faults. I tend to talk too much and get so excited, but I love connecting. And it's what Malcolm Gladwell, there's a chapter in the book, The Tipping Point, and there's a whole chapter on connectors. And I believe that I could connect Libby, the mayor, who I just found out that your godparents are Mayor Schaaf's parents.
Yeah, that's right. Mayor Schaaf's godparents have been my Mayor Schaaf's parents have been my godparents since 1991.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like this is serendipitous that we're talking about this, because I remember saying to this woman, and her name escapes me, but I said, please put me in touch with the mayor, because I used to do this at the United Nations. I used to connect ambassadors from countries all over the world with people like Arm & Hammer, Ross Perot, David Rockefeller, Bill Gates. I did that 30 years ago. And I said to myself, there's quite a few people down in the Silicon Valley connected to Stanford that might want to keep the Oakland Raiders in Oakland, in the Bay Area. They might want to keep the Warriors in Oakland. They might want to keep the A's. And so I said, hey, can I talk with the mayor? Can you connect me? And she said, oh yeah, I'll connect you. Never heard one thing. So again, I understand she's a busy lady, but it was, I just thought to myself, wow. And then we got, as I said, the Seals are gone. The Warriors are gone. The Raiders are gone. And the question is, Zennie, with the moves that they've made, what are the chances of the Oakland Athletics remaining in Oakland?
Well, I think if you tie it to Taj and Taj's departure, the answer is 30%. It's now, I don't call it Taj's departure. Taj got fired. Taj, look, you don't do the kind of events that Taj did right up until he was fired and say, oh, I'm just going to leave, and then not tell people where you're going. He was fired. That's what my sources told me. They know this better than anybody else because of their position. And I stand by that. I don't care what this A spokesperson says, okay, that they said to the Chronicle and not to me. And Dave's been on my show a bunch of times. He could have easily called me. There was no reason not to. But they had Phil Ruffin, Trump's friend, in town last week. And there's a part of me that thinks there's a tie-in between Ruffin's visiting and Taj getting fired. Okay.
By the way, our audience probably doesn't know who Ruffin is. So if you could talk about who is Ruffin, Mr. Ruffin.
Absolutely. Phil Ruffin is a billionaire, 82-year-old casino magnate who is best known for owning the Treasure Island. He has owned a number of casinos, and he also is good friends with Donald Trump, has supported his presidential campaign to the tune of several million. They are partnered, I believe, in the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. They're also, I believe, partnered with some other business ventures in Las Vegas. So by extension, if you're going to say, do you mean there's a possibility that Donald Trump may wind up being partnered with John Fisher? I would not discount that possibility. I wouldn't. And, look, Taj is a Democrat. He is also the blackface. To me, maybe it's coincidental, but in the way that I think, my spider sense starts tingling as it is with this effort. I tend to think that also that was part of it, because even if it was a simple matter like, well, gee, we're going to go to Las Vegas anyway, so we don't need Taj. If it's something like that, it's still partly tied to the fact that Phil Ruffin has sought to partner with them and bring the Athletics to Las Vegas. But I thought that Taj would be, and I think that Taj would be just as effective in Las Vegas as in his role with the A's as Oakland. So it was a gigantic mistake, but it communicated to the world by its action that they didn't value Taj. Because look. I remember, this is a matter of public record, and I've had a great life. I'm 60 now. I've got to get a 7th dose of the mRNA because I'm telling you, Mike, man, it boosts your immune system, and it's the greatest thing for your health. Okay, that's another story. Well, my point is, there's a simple fact here that if you put a person like Taj in a position where you want him to be the face of the Black community in the internet age, that doesn't communicate in just Oakland. That's worldwide. Okay. That's in Las Vegas. Okay. And Las Vegas has community needs as well. Las Vegas has gigantic needs for affordable housing. It's getting worse. All right. The country's affordable housing need is just dramatically bad because we've had a gargantuan level of foreign direct investment, such that I was saying to someone the other day, we should just cut off the spigot of foreign direct investment and make them be in America, and just kind of tamp down this buying activity and all this, causing all this speculation, which is driving up all these prices. This isn't the free market as we've thought about it. This is the internet driven market. All right. And affordable housing and the need for it has quite literally driven away the ease of availability of funds for a number of projects, including sports projects, and that'll impact the A's in Las Vegas with, for example, the availability of private placement bonds. Private placement activity has been quite literally consumed by the affordable housing industry. Just straight out. That's why there's no bright line light rail between LA and Las Vegas. They thought they had their private placement bond issues all sewn up. Nope, not at all. Changed like that. Okay. So the A's can't come to Las Vegas and think they don't need a Taj. They do. They need a Taj. Now, can they do what they want to do faster in Las Vegas with or without Taj? Yes. All right. Yes, absolutely. But
hey, Zennie,
lawsuits.
Zennie, look what the Raiders did. Who the new president of the Raiders?
Yeah, Sandra. Yeah, absolutely.
The first woman African American president in the history of the National Football League.
Yeah, and look, I like Mark Davis. Mark has had his difference with me because, hey, look, I'm independent, and not only did not agree with the move he was trying to do, but I felt that there were some economic deficiencies to what he was trying to do. But I will tell you, I made a tremendous mistake intellectually in that. But I love Oakland, okay? And I sort of inherited the problem because I've covered the NFL and I built my brand around the NFL, Michael, since 2005. That was my first draft. I'm the first person to write make an internet-based account of being at the draft. I'm the first to cover the NFL draft with a YouTube channel. I'm the first to cover it with a live stream. I partnered with Ustream the very next year. In 2008, ESPN got mad and basically had the NFL banish me to the Grand Lounge at Radio City Music Hall. And I was like, hey, Zennie. Michael.
How about the time where I was walking down the street?
That. Yeah, you should show that. Yeah, I'm getting to that. And so I was about to cry about being in the Grand Lounge basement, and I realized something. All the players will be coming to me first because the way they had it, they announced them on the stage, right? And then what happens is they go through get their hat and they meet the people they're going to meet, and they either sign the paperwork first or after the interviews. Now it's before the interviews, but then it was either one or the other. And so here I am. I went down there, I took a table, set it up, and I set up my whole computer system where I was pointing right at the table. I got everybody. So I got the first videos before anyone else did. And people weren't using YouTube then, right? So I had all this material that I still have. And so basically I have set the record for the most YouTube videos made on site at the NFL draft, more than any other single person or media outlet in history. Okay. There you go. So yeah, that's how I got started. And but getting back to the situation at hand here with Taj and the Athletics, as one of my viewers just remarked that the A's didn't do any community outreach. Well, the A's did community outreach. Taj was their community outreach. Okay. Taj was it. All right. And so the question is, was the City of Oakland too little and too late in negotiations? Yeah. But there are two types of negotiations. Okay. The community negotiations Taj was handling. Okay. That was on time. But the negotiations with the county regarding tax increment financing, regarding the plans, regarding the processes and steps called for by law, that was late. I told Mayor Schaaf a couple of months ago, all right, I said, look, Ms. Mayor, if you put me in charge right now, I will immediately go to council and have the council approve the establishment of the Public Financing Authority. We will have extra seats for the county and the community groups. And then we will start immediately on a infrastructure financing plan with the objective of having it finished by the end of October. And our objective will be to have our bond issue design and the numbers for it wrapped up by the end of October as well, with the object and the overall objective is to have everything wrapped up in a bow for the council by the end of October. And why we would have it public, because right now, Michael, it's not public. There's no sunshine. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. But ain't no sunshine because she never arrived. In other words, you know what I mean? There was never a public meeting. Think about how different it is with Las Vegas as one example, where they created the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. All right. Or think about how we handled the Warriors arena. We had the Joint Powers Authority. These were deliberative public bodies. I should say are deliberative public bodies where you, as Josephina Q Public, can come to the meetings, get on open forum, or have the meetings on Zoom now and get on open forum and state your case, talk about your businesses. Because with the neat way that Las Vegas handled it, okay? All right. One of my viewers saying that the final community framework document was never finalized. Thank you for that. It wasn't. But again, that gets to the fact that the city did not have its own process. When you have a deliberative body, you have the public looking at you. You have people basically coming to your meetings saying, toot sweet, right? I was going to double time it. Instead of meeting once a month, we're going to meet twice the month. Okay. We can still do this. But this is the kind of thing that we need to do, because Oakland too often acts like it's on its own schedule and not somebody else's. We're on somebody else's schedule now. That's Major League Baseball's. That's life. That's the way life is.
Hey, Zennie.
Yes, sir.
Is it too late? Because you said we could do it now, but is it too late, Zennie, or is it never too late?
It's not too late if we do it the way that I'm talking about. But we have to show a sense of urgency. We have shown no sense of urgency. The mayor has used this project, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. She's in, make sure you folks on the dot, okay? All right. The mayor used this project, just like she used the Raiders, to show her face. It was always Libby's face, Libby's face, Libby's face. Libby tried to make herself the spokesperson, and a lot of times it didn't go well. Why? Because for the same reason she screwed up with the Raiders, my friend, and I love her to death. But this is about more than my friendship with her. This is about her responsibility to the 500,000 people who live in Oakland and the millions of people who are connected with Oakland in many different ways. So it's bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. And Libby, I know, understands that, but she also understands that she's got to take the criticism that comes with how terrible a job she did and the fact that she didn't call on her friends who are the best and the brightest at what they do, what we do. I think I'm the smartest guy in the room, and it's up to somebody else to prove I'm not in the room. If you don't get me in the room, you don't give me a chance to prove it, it's too bad. But if I'm in the room, I'll eat your ass alive. I'm saying it just like that. I will eat your ass alive. Because this thing needs to get done. We need people who are jackbull certain about it. We need people who are not afraid to take chances, to make moves. We need people who are a little less political and a lot more aggressive. Okay? And that's what we're missing in the society. You know, we're missing that can-do attitude. And I think, frankly speaking, even though I don't like Trump, he has that. Okay? He does have that.
Well, how about KJ? What about KJ, your fellow, graduate from the University of California, became the mayor of Sacramento, and I think had a huge role in keeping the Kings in Sacramento.
Yeah, no, Kevin Johnson's outstanding too. But look, we have enough people, all right? We have enough people, okay? And Bleacher Dave is chiming in. Hey, Bleacher Dave, you owe me a visit, man. You got to get on Dot's show, all right? Don't be one of those people that hides behind things. Call, man. No, I ain't letting you do that, man. But anyway, all right? My point is that, yes, sir. Your volume, Michael. Yeah.
Zennie, by the way, to get on the Dot, I just put the ticker tape down. Oh. YouTube, you've got to search, and unfortunately, probably a mistake. You got to go to my name, Michael Dotterer, on YouTube, and you'll see the On the Dot. So maybe, Zennie, you could teach me. But you know what? I did before you got on, Zennie. I said, I remember CBS's 60 Minutes where they'd have the two people talking about issues. Mm-hmm. And they kind of would go at each other. Yeah. And I challenged. Actually, you weren't on because I came on a little bit before we brought you on, but I would like, Zennie, for you and I to have civil discourse, because there's issues that you and I disagree on.
Crossfire.
But we can agree to disagree. And there's a saying, be the change that you want to see in the world. We need to, in this country, have civil discourse. And just because we disagree doesn't mean that I don't like you.
Right. But I think for the purpose of Howard Terminal, which is our subject right now, and the program's called Crossfire, which I loved. Okay. But we don't need Crossfire for Howard Terminal. I'll tell you why we don't. Okay. Bleacher Dave, I did not see that, but let's talk about that. Okay. I'll tell you about the CBA update. But anyway, Oakland United. But anyway, that's another subject. Michael, we don't need Crossfire for Howard Terminal. We need a hurry up. Understand? We need, I drew it out. I drew out a plan. I made a video blog outlining my plan in text as well of how to move this project forward right now. All right. Because I'm telling you, the A's project was supposed to have broken ground last year. You hear me? But what happened was, I already laid out what happened in terms of the time wasted. Molly Mabern came on as project manager, I believe, March of 2019, but she didn't really technically come on. She was hired then, but she didn't really surface until later. And I called the number for her, and she never called me back then. That's actually 2020 when I called. She didn't call me back then. And that was before I was critical. So there's no sunshine in the project. As my friend says, it's slipping away, sands through an hourglass. Bleacher Dave, that's the best description I've seen. That's right. It's like sands through an hourglass. So go the days of our lives. Great soap opera that is no longer with us, unfortunately. I watched General Hospital, but I digress. My point is that we need the mayor and the council to turn everything out, put this on a fast track schedule, do as I've said, done. I said the mayor, she said, we're going to do the public financing authority and everything else. But I said, Ms. Mayor, do it now. Don't, because the way the mayor has it set up, we're going to do the state lands approval. We're going to do planning commission again. And then we're going to go with the council. But right now, looking at, like, this is August, looking at September, October, November, December. We don't have a lot of time. So we're going to run out of time. By the time she gets to the public financing authority, and by the time she gets to the infrastructure financing plan or has her staff get to it, guess what? It's going to be 2023. That's going to take another 8 months the way that they're going about it. And the A's and Major League Baseball is not going to wait, because what's going on is the more time they waste, the more time they give the Athletics and Major League Baseball to do their design creation in Las Vegas. All right. And Bleacher Dave says we lost a year due to COVID waiting on the state. We didn't lose it. What happened was we lost a year because of our mismanagement. We didn't have to wait on the state, Bleacher Dave. All we had to do was focus on getting the tax increment financing part going, establishing the public financing authority, so you have this deliberative body which keeps a focus on the project, because you have everybody there, right? Coming there, making their micro blogs about it and everything else, as well as traditional news, because it meets weekly. But what we have right now is a situation where the only time you hear about something is when another deliberative body has these milestone meetings that if it goes a certain way, oh my God, it may live or die. That's no way to run a project. That's stupid. Okay? And you had Dave allowing it to happen and acting like he had his consultants, but arguably his consultants weren't giving him any value either. All right, let's be honest, folks. Michael, let's be honest about this, all right? It wasn't just the city. The A's were paying the city, but the A's were not getting what they paid for because they expected to get experts in the city. They didn't get them. Then they tried to hire their own experts. Could have hired me, didn't do that. Here I am sitting here giving him the idea that he said he got from me. He gets the idea from me, yet they don't hire me to do it. I mean, is that smart? Of course it's not smart. You know?
Yeah, Zennie, let me just interject here. It is pretty amazing with your wealth of knowledge, with your connections to the East Bay. You're a graduate of the University of California, which is right there, with your network. It is amazing that you're not, in the inner circle with Mayor Schaaf. And by the way, I tick down there. If you want to, there's an upcoming mayoral debate for 3 candidates that are going to be opposing, going up for election, going up against Mayor Schaaf.
All city council members. But they ask yourself a question. Okay, I like them as people. I've known Treva Reed for a long time. But she is nearing the midterm of her first time as city council. And she spends the first part of her first term doing what? Campaigning to be mayor. So the question is, hey, wait a minute. What are you doing as council? I got more done for the city of Oakland, okay, as an aide to Elihu Harris than a number of people have done who are council members, not right now. All right, I'm not running for mayor. I'm here for my mom. I got my priorities right. Okay, my mom is number 1. My company is number 2. I'm number 3, and I got to get some money into my company. All right, that's Michael.
Well, here's what I truly believe, Zennie. Here's what I believe. Here's what I believe, Zennie. What I do. Well, that's what I do. It's nice because I can mute you. Here's what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting, Zennie, is that you and I, the energy is unbelievable. And I think that each of us can, in the future, we'll call it the Z and D show. And you're first, so you get to start it off. I go back and forth, and you get to have the last word. But what I'm excited about, we can pick different topics. And I'd like to segue, because we've been on now for 44 minutes, and I know that people's attention span is about 45 minutes. And my good friend Brian Holloway, who went to Stanford, said, Mike, if you want something to go viral, don't make it more than 1 minute and 30 seconds. So, I would love for this to go viral. And Zennie, you're going to be able to talk about what you're going to talk about. And I'm going to stop and put myself on mute. But what I want to do, Zennie, is I do want to get your take on People's Park. People's Park, please talk about that. And Zennie, you're back on, brother.
I need a chief marketing officer, Michael. I need you to be the chief marketing officer of Zennie62 Media. Be outstanding. You got the connections. You know the Stanford billionaires. Okay, between us, I've got the company. I've got the setup. I've got the stock. State of Delaware apparatus, everything. I need you to be Zennie62 Media's chief marketing officer. Bleacher Dave said Ace could have agreed to see the term sheet a year ago in July. But hey, Bleacher Dave, that's not the point. The point is he's talking about that was a sucky term sheet. I'm not going to agree to a term sheet where the city itself can't even figure out its own tax increment financing. Okay, they couldn't. The problem was that the minute they started and they waited 2 years. You give Bleacher Dave. I know you think the project manager's hot and all that stuff. Okay, I'm being honest. Okay, you give them too much of a break. I give them no break. This is about money, man. This is about money, man. Yeah, Bleacher Dave be our CFO, but this is about money. Okay, and too many people say, "Oh, they're so nice and everything." They're not getting the job done. They're not getting the job done. Okay, they're not getting the job done. All right, this isn't time to have a club. You know, Jerry Brown said, well, I'm going to break up the black political machine because they're friends hiring friends. What has Libby been doing? Or allowing, everybody like Betsy Lake hires her friend and all this stuff, getting nothing done. All right, Libby makes the face. That's why we lost the Raiders. It worked for her, Michael, to have a great first presentation in New York. I was there. This is November 2015. She came with Larry Reed and this representative from Blackstone and Eric Grubman, the man who famously said that Oakland did not have a viable plan to retain the Raiders. Remember that? Viable? It just, that went viral, man. Viable. Remember that? Okay. Eric said, and I have the video. Eric said, I have the video. Bleacher said they haven't gotten the job as done, only poison the well by antagonizing this community. Bleacher Dave, you're absolutely right. I need to come on the show. But my whole point is the fact of, and I need to invite you. The fact of them, and I did again. The fact of the matter is that Libby got so enamored with all the accolades she was getting, which were well deserved the first time, that she went to Boca Raton when it was more serious to get a deal done with the Raiders. In other words, do you know the details? Do you know the financing? Do you understand the elasticity of demand with this price? How's your bond issue laid out? What are you going to do? All right. That she didn't have those questions answered. And guess what happened? Crash and burn in Boca. Because she wanted her face out there. So what is she doing with Howard Terminal? The same damn thing. Putting her face out there, making all these mistakes, not knowing what she's talking about, okay? And I love her. But it hurts to see my friend screw up, all right? Because that's exactly what's happening. It's screwing up on a large scale level with the city. And that's what's going on, all right?
Zennie, I got a question for you. Since there's no question, you're so articulate in painting, and I must say it's your perspective, because I'm sure there's other perspectives, but it sounds very clear as to what what mistakes. I mean, you've put this out very clearly, and you've been involved since the beginning. So let me ask you. I know you said it's not too late, but let's just say that the Oakland A's do leave. Where does Oakland go? And I'm not saying that a city doesn't have to have a professional sports team, but I will say that all the great cities in America, do have. I mean, name us a great city that does not have a professional sports team.
There is no every city that's great has a professional sports team of some kind. Let me explain something to you, okay, that people don't seem to understand or want to accept. I don't care how you feel about sports. Oakland District Council member Carol Fike makes this mistake all the time. She talks about how she feels about baseball. No one cares about how she feels about baseball. This is about having a facility that is, in effect, a gigantic convention hall to help us build up, us being Oakland, build up our extreme weakness in the industry of meetings, incentives, conventions, and in entertainment. All right, the MICE industry. We are weak in it. We have at the time that I proposed the idea of having a 1,100 hotel room facility at the Coliseum next to the stadium for the new Raiders stadium. People laughed at my drawing. Okay, and I love that you laughed. You gave attention to it because the idea worked, and none other than an organization I cold called. Get this, Michael. I cold called Diane Poway, the managing director at the time of Piper Jaffray. She had a 5-person deal team go over my spreadsheet for the Raiders stadium. They said everything checked out. They just wanted to know if the city would back the bonds. I said, I'm not going to put that there. I calculated out enough to give the Raiders a loan to a $2 billion bondable cash stream on their own. $2 billion, okay? And from it, because I learned something from the NFL. That's how they are structuring their deals. All right. Jerry Jones will tell you that. Eric Grubman told me that. And this is how I found out when I was talking with Eric. I said, Eric, we had this conversation in Houston at the Houston NFL owners meeting, this fall NFL owners meeting in 2016. I said, Eric, riddle me this. Why is it that Mark is willing to give up ownership and let the Las Vegas Stadium Authority in Clark County own the stadium in Vegas, right? But he wants a privately financed stadium. He wants to own it in the Oakland case. And he said, well, wait a minute. What difference does it make? He said, what difference does it make if I own the revenue stream anyway? In other words, who cares who owns the edifice? Isn't my owning the revenue stream the same thing? And I admit he was right. And that completely changed how I thought about the value of the calculations and the revenue streams that I was creating, right? For in the case of the Raiders project. And I gave all of that to Libby. I gave it to Scott McKibben when he was the head of the JPA, and Oakland Council member Rebecca and Scott and I had a meeting. We went over every part of the spreadsheet. Rebecca said I dotted every I, crossed every T. She asked me all kinds of questions, passed with flying colors. All right. I'm telling you, you put me under hot lights, I shine. All right. I do not fade. And so there was no reason. Oh, you know what, Libby do? Nothing. I gave her the information. I even specifically pushed for Diane Poway because she is, let's be blunt, brilliant female managing director, great political cover. All right. To get a deal like that done. And Diane is an acknowledged expert at what she does. And I got her with a 45-minute phone call, and it is not a yawn. Heck with you. All right. Boom. I did that. Okay. You tell me, you compare me with any of these other people who are council members and have these titles. Seriously. I've got
Oh, I'm sorry. I know. I was not talking. I was muted. Oh my God. You know what, Zennie? Zennie, I apologize. I was muted. Hopefully people could read my lips. What I was saying, Zennie, we have between your LinkedIn network and my LinkedIn network, and thanks to Reid Hoffman, a Stanford graduate, for starting LinkedIn, we have billionaires that can be listening to this live or could listen to the recording. And those billionaires could come to Oakland, one billionaire, and meet with Mayor Schaaf and say, Mayor Schaaf, we got to keep your team in Oakland. What could a billionaire make a difference, or do you need two billionaires? What does it take, Zennie? Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry, I was muted.
The other thing is, I need just chief operating officer because I have a pitch deck for 5 billion, million. I'm sorry, not. I don't need. We love to have 5 billion, but don't give that to me. $5 million, okay? That will really get us in good stead. It would take 5 million, turn into 50 million, but that's another story. Michael, yeah, I think that's a great idea, but you know, my flock are saying, hey, talk about Howard Terminal. All right. I'm going to say this because this is the 11th hour. All right. If you want Howard Terminal done as citizen, okay, if you want Howard Terminal done, what you need to do is call your council member. Don't text them. Don't go on Twitter. Call them. Do it the old-fashioned way. Why? Because the other ways of making a contact they're less direct. Phone calls are direct. Don't text. Use your voice. People are too hep to this indirect way of talking, and they'll listen, they'll pay attention, but it doesn't have the same impact. When you call somebody, right, Michael? Talking is right. Talking is best. Okay. Oh, by the way, you wanted me to say something about People's Park. I'll tell you, I am so sick and tired of a generation that hasn't learned to leave People's Park alone. We've been through this in the 60s. I remember my friend, the late Michael Petrovis, led a protest. Wheelchair Brown, great guy that I met when I was a columnist of the Montclarian, wrote about him. The Montclarian work that I did should be digitized. It is a crime that that's not digitized, but I digress. It's at the Oakland Museum, all right? But Michael, he got rousted by UC police, tossed out of his wheelchair. I'm serious, folks. It's too bad that YouTube wasn't around then, okay? All right? It's too bad. It is too bad, all right? But I'll say about People's Park, and I'll come back to Howard Terminal because I'm getting a lot of people saying, talk about Howard Terminal.
Hey, Zennie, the question is, just like, is it too late for the Oakland Athletics to remain in Oakland? Is it too late for People's Park, Zennie? Is it too late for People's Park?
I'll just say this briefly, and I'll go back to Howard Terminal. Yeah, it's too late for People's Park. Now, as far as Howard Terminal is concerned, look, the biggest problem is that the city wasted 2 years. I don't care the reason. All right. You don't to offer a reason over why the time was wasted is to simply just further buttress the fact that the city had people that didn't know what they were doing on the project. And the mayor basically admitted that to me in a press conference after the town hall that was held with the county back in July of last year. Hold on a second, Michael. Hold on a second. And the problem is that over that 2-year period, as more documents and work and the need for the stadium proceeded through time, more media attention was glommed onto it. And with media attention, you get political involvement for a large-scale public-private partnership. And so what happened? Nature abhors a vacuum. The city did not establish a deliberative body to basically control the narrative. It left it out there to the internet wilderness, to people to say what they want to say, to react to these meetings that really should be considered small and internecine, like BCDC and everything, but they made them major. The major meeting should have been the Howard Terminal Public Financing Authority. That's what should be established. The Howard Terminal Public Financing Authority. Okay? I told the mayor that when she's saying, well, Zennie, this is a job interview. I mean, come on, okay? That's the best you got. You know, it was ridiculous how this has been handled. And it's shameful for a city that created the sale leaseback, I'm talking about Oakland, to be allowed this bad a look. Oh, and then let's talk about the whole affordable housing thing, okay? Explain.
Hey, Zennie, before you talk about the whole, can the Howard Terminal project survive and thrive without the Oakland Athletics?
Not in the same way. In fact, it's good. I talked about this with Mike Jacob yesterday. Mike Jacob is the lawyer and friend of mine with the Pacific Maritime Shipping Association, or I say colloquially the Oakland Longshoremen, okay? And, or I should say shore people today. And he reminded me of something that is quite true, that there are a number of covenants that call for the construction of the stadium. Among them, SB 293 Skinner in and of itself. All right. So it's not, SB 293 Skinner is not so binding as to say you must do the stadium, but the stadium is obvious focus. You understand what I'm saying?
Well,
it's the obvious focus.
Zennie.
So here's the
I got a question, Zennie. Zennie got another question. Zennie. Could the stadium, if the Oakland A's leave, could the stadium be built, because the greatest, most popular sport in the world is soccer? Could you still build a stadium that was soccer friendly, which is called football, differentiated from American football? Because that would be, because I believe 50 years from now, the way California is going with immigration, soccer might be bigger than American football. So there you go.
After this, with respect to SB 293 Skinner, it's not a deal breaker, but it does call for, no one's going to get thrown in jail. But if what does transpire, I believe what will happen is that the Athletics will partner with Dave Ruffin. They will try to keep that land and do Howard Terminal without the stadium, as you ask, all right? Have the covenants changed, but then build the ballpark in Las Vegas. Because, I mean, look, why else would 82-year-old Phil Ruffin leave Las Vegas and come to Oakland? He's not coming to watch a baseball game, all right? Why would he do that? Now, as far as
Zennie, I got to interject. Maybe what we talked about earlier today about you going to an Oakland Athletics game between now and the end of September and taking a picture of who's in the stands. I would love for you to do a little report from. So anyway, go ahead.
It's out there. All right. I built Zennie62 Media to have partners. I need somebody out there who put them on a blog. It's designed to have a smartphone. We connect you to our YouTube network. You're out there. You don't need any heavy equipment. You have the device, right? You can go and do that. You can get a team to go and do that. You'll get 50% of the revenue from the videos, okay? You get a sponsor, you get 50% of that. Boom, all right? My point is, Zennie62 Media is about changing. I'm not going to say this. I'm just going to say this a second. Then we get back to Howard Terminal, from the me to the we, all right? So, Michael, deputize you, but I need you as our chief marketing officer. Now, let me talk about Howard Terminal some more, because this is a critical problem, all right? Critical, all right? Critical problem. And Bleacher Day says, how are they going to dispose of their 50% interest in the Coliseum? They're not. This is what they see. And I really believe that Mayor Schaaf invited billionaire Phil Ruffin to come in with Fisher and do this land banking, just like they were trying to do with the Coliseum. All right. Libby gave them an option to have an ENA either for the Coliseum or for Howard Terminal. Guess what they did? The A's took both. And everyone says, oh, I thought, oh, it's Baseball Village, right? But guess what? Once I did the tax increment financing calculations, I thought, you don't need to do a Baseball Village. They've got the money right there for infrastructure. It's that big. Why is it that big mathematically? And this is why you need to understand tax increment financing math, not those little pictures, but the math. You hear me, Michael? The math. Listen.
Well, I got a question for you. Roger Knoll, who's a professor, you know Roger, he claims that professional sports teams don't. I know. That's it. That's a good point. So if the teams do leave, all the professional teams, what is the math? How much money, Zennie, is the city of Oakland losing from all those teams? What is the math?
That's a different math, okay? I want you to pay attention to tax increment financing math. With respect to the stadiums where, like Councilmember Fife says, that sports isn't important to her and everything. Look, you've got, how many other examples are you going to have? We have a facility that's worth $2 billion. What does that do? It means you have a gigantic drop of assessed value on the roads like that produces this gigantic wave of tax increment revenue. If you do the calculations right, that's what you get, okay? Now, for somebody that says, well, it's not going to be that because the stadium might be, it was only $1 billion. No, you don't understand, all right? Good tax increment financing planning is targeting, you hear what I'm saying? Listen to me. It's targeting your assessed value. You hit your assessed value targets to realize a revenue throw-off. Again, you hit your assessed value targets to realize a revenue throw-off. All of you have been talking about, what's the shape of the map and all this? It's not the shape of the math. It's the value of the property, shape of the map, excuse me. It's the value of the property. I've done this for 36 years. So, a lot of you, 5 years ago, you didn't know anything about this stuff. All of a sudden, you come in, some of you work on these networks and stuff, and then you think you understand and you don't. And then you don't want to talk to me because I'm a black guy. Let's face it, because a lot of people doing this are white. All right, look at the tableau. All right. And they get it wrong all the time. But they talk about among themselves, a little group, and they think the little sewing circles got it right. Little sewing circle doesn't know what the frick they're talking about. All right. Period. Because they don't know how to do math. They don't want to do math at all. They don't have the time. Okay. I do. The bottom line is this. Assessed value is what drives your tax increment. All right. You start there. So when you target it at $2 billion, you get a nice throw off. And then you say, hey, you know what? I'll go to the legislature. This is the other thing I don't like. People say, well, the law says if you don't like the law, change the law. All right. The Republicans in California will love it when you change the law, man, regarding tax increment financing to, get more flexibility. Oh, you can get a lot out of that. Okay. Change the law so that I can negotiate with the school district. Get this, Michael. You're going to love it. I can negotiate with the school district and give them their money up front, because the other ones who like to think that they're left and right and all this crap that really has screwed up our country in terms of this extreme thinking don't understand that you're actually taking away the school district's idea of bargaining. Me? Heck, I don't care what the law says. The law doesn't tell me I can't negotiate with the school district. I'll negotiate with them until the cows come home. And then we have a deal. Then we go to the legislature and say, you know what? We got this deal. We're going to we need a change in the law right here. That's how you do it. Because then they can get their money up front. They can get their schools fixed. You can, all this stuff rather than having to go to corporate financing and basically put corporate names on schools. Ugh. All right.
Zennie, you on the dot, just to let everyone know, Zennie gets the last word. And Zennie, we've been going for an hour and 9 minutes. We might break the record for On the Dot, but I love your passion. I love your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience. I'm just saddened that the city of Oakland, for whatever reason, hasn't brought you in from 8 years ago and saying, hey, Zennie, You need to be in charge, because I truly believe, had Mayor Schaaf done that with your energy, one of those teams, whether it was the Warriors, the Raiders, or the Athletics, one of those teams would have stayed. That's just my opinion. So with that, Zennie, you get the last word. Don't hang up, but you get the last word. And when you close out the show, I'll hit the end, but don't hang up. Okay. Thank you, Zennie, for being on the dot. And I look forward to being your chief marketing officer. Again, everyone, I'm going to put up Zennie's link here. If you want to know about the mayoral election coming up, you can go to Zennie, his YouTube channel, Zennie62. And you can see, by the way, Zennie did a 16 years ago in in New York City, 2006. Zennie interviewed me. It was the time of the NFL draft, and I was living in New York City, and it's got almost 6,000 views. And Zennie, thank you so much, because I think of all the things that I've done on the internet, your show has more views than anyone. So thank you, Zennie. And again, thank you. You get the last word, and I'm going to put myself on mute. So thank you, brother. You get the last word, brother.
Michael, I appreciate your comments and being on the show. I got to say, though, thank you for saying what you said regarding the city and me. I got to tell you, though, not just me. I got a call from somebody else currently with the city who told me that they actually gave me a list. I'm going to make a video about this, a list of the number of Black persons, talented people who are in the city administrative offices have been chased away. Some names you know about, like Marquesha Smith, and of course there's Michelle Bird and others. And I was told that in Sacramento, this made me cry, but it's true, that among Black women in Sacramento, Mayor Schaaf is considered a Black female career killer. Okay? Black female career killer. All right? That is a terrible moniker to have hung on your head, in your head. That makes me cry, because I don't want to think of my friend that way. But she's responsible for the city of Oakland and the legacy of the city. She is the mayor, and she's 2 terms, okay? And she can straighten all this out like that, all right? But Libby tries to take the photo ops and everything, but it's got to be more than photo ops, a lot more. Howard Terminal, she needs a tight group of people that's going to last beyond her to get it done. She hasn't put that together. She needs to put together the Public Financing Authority now. She needs to get me involved now. Even if she doesn't want to get me involved, do something active and make it public so that we have multiple meetings, so the Major League Baseball can say, hey, you know what? We need to wait for them because they've sped it up. Instead, I got a guy, County of Alameda guy, telling me, one of the supervisors, saying, you know what? I haven't heard from them in over a month. Think about it. Okay? Think about it. All right? This is a crisis. This isn't, Zennie land. All right? As much as I'd love it to be, this is Oakland land, and Oakland land is screwing up under Mayor Schaaf. Libby can do better. She hired Ed Reskin. You know why she hired Ed? Okay? Because Ed doesn't know city administration, and she could use him to reach down in the bowels of the city that previous city administrators wouldn't do. They would probably just not listen to her and go on. Deanna Santana was arguably our most powerful city administrator we ever had because she actually read the charter, okay? But she served at the pleasure of the mayor, right? But hey, look, everything happens below her is under her control, and she acted like it. That's not Ed Reskin, okay? So Ed's not the face. Libby makes herself the face. She wants you to know all of this is coming from her. But then she wears it when it goes bad. And it's gone really, really bad in a lot of different ways. And it makes me cry on a regular basis because I told her in 2009, on the 14th of May, that she should run for mayor. I thought we would be getting a different Libby Schaaf. I mean that. We didn't. We didn't get that Libby Schaaf I thought of, okay? Michael, thank you. Thank you for having me on the dot. And subscribe to Michael. I don't know if Michael left or anything. He said don't hang up. But